We had like our first kiss, and it was the very first time I had ever felt fireworks in my entire life. I was like, oh, that's what they were talking about. And it wasn't fireworks, it was a bolt of lightning. I looked at him and I was like, I've been fucking looking for you for goddamn years. Where the hell have you been? It was just, we knew. It was the first time where I was just like, oh shit, soulmates are a thing. Damn it. I lost that bet.
But first, a word from our sponsors.
Welcome to the Man-Whore Podcast.
Shout out to the spermies, to the eggos, to the turkey basters. Get it in the cup, kid. Get it in. This is very important. Get it in the cup. This is Billy Procida, and you're listening to the Man-Whore Podcast. Bumble is bumbling. Woo! Just wow, what a downfall. I remember when Bumble came out. I've been on Tinder since pretty much since it came out, maybe around 2012. I remember swiping in New York City back when you could run out of people with whom to swipe on. It was still sparse. And it was called the straight people's grinder. And I remember there were all these articles about can straight people have a grinder too? And, I think a lot of straight men were hoping for a grinder for the straights because they want easy, quick access to sex. They'd hear all their gay friends talking about how easy it was to get a blowjob at 3:30 in the afternoon. But, a lot of the articles that would pose this question kept bringing up the obvious one is, do women even want a straight grinder? They're kind of 50% of the equation. Now, I've talked about before, I've cited the study many times over the last several years since it came out in 2019. Basically, more hetero women would be interested in casual sex if they thought that sex was going to be good and safe. But men don't seem to focus on, hey, how do we change society and talk among ourselves to make ourselves better, more empathetic lovers, even when just being casual? Instead, we keep focusing on the code. It's no, we just need the right developer to come up with no, you have to, this is going to be a cultural change. An app's not going to fix it. And then Whitney Wolf, who used to work for Tinder, she was part of getting Tinder off the ground, who did it in such a brilliant way. She went to, she went around the college campuses when she worked for Tinder. And the story goes that she told all the guys, because Whitney's really hot. So she was this hot blonde who would go to college campuses. She'd go to all the fraternities and say, okay, guys, take your phones out. And college boys are dumb. Pretty blonde says do something, they do that thing. So they all took their phones out. She said, download this app. There's going to be a bunch of girls on here soon. And then she went to all the sororities and she said, okay, girls, take out your phones. And the girls all see a successful tech pretty blonde woman say to do something, and so they do something, and so they all took out the phones and they downloaded Tinder, and they saw that there were already all these boys on it, and then they were able to get going and build a dating app. So she decided to then invent Bumble. She had a falling out and a lawsuit and stuff with Tinder, so she goes and she develops Bumble, and the Bumble is basically just Tinder. It's Tinder but yellow, except for one key major difference: women have to send the first message. Guys were fucking it up. They were either being really lame and boring, and they'd open with hi, or they would open with something super extra aggressive and sexual, or something super weird, or they would just send their dick. And so guys did not have chat access to a woman until the woman initiated conversation. And I love that because I love a forward woman. Those who are listening to the bonus episode coming out exclusively on Patreon tomorrow, where I go through a lot of my major sexual and dating firsts, you'll notice a little bit of a pattern of I do seem to enjoy a woman who makes a first move. That was the whole thing with Bumble. Women make the first move. And I think a lot of women realized, oh, this is harder than it looks. I hope y'all learned a little bit of empathy for the boys. I have over the last, let's call it 10 years, whenever Bumble came out, I've had a lot of women send me, hey, when we match on Bumble. And I don't let them get away with that bullshit. A woman opens with hey, I throw a hey right back at her. This is your hot potato lady. This is the one place where I get to hold you to a standard. This is the one place where you got to be vulnerable and send like a crafty opening message that might fall flat on its face. It might. But now you understand what our experience is, where you expect us to come up with some sort of like witty, clever, intelligent, attractive opening line when you have no bio. And I've seen women frustrated when they realize they don't know how to open. Good. Maybe now you'll give a guy who clearly made an effort to craft an opening message. Maybe it wasn't great. Maybe it didn't land. But, he didn't say hey, and he didn't say something gross. He tried. Engage with that guy. Because you know what? It's hard. But now Bumble is getting rid of that feature. Anyone can send the first message, which means women are going to go back to expecting the man to send the opening message, which is lame and sad. And it probably means I won't be on Bumble very much. But I don't know. I haven't really been on the apps that much anyway recently. And that is not the only fumble that Bumble has been having. I'll skip over their billboard mishap that they had to apologize for all around the world. But then also the founder, Whitney Wolf, she came out and said, well, in the future of dating at Bumble, one day, your Bumble AI personality is going to date some other guy's Bumble AI personality. And Bumble's founder, again, Whitney Wolf, she in an interview said how she sees the future of Bumble and AI is that your AI self on Bumble will just go date other AIs without you really knowing until it says, okay, this is someone I think you should actually talk to, which is no different than an algorithm like a Match.com saying, here are your 5 matches for the day. It's no different. We don't know that's going to actually work. I don't know. That is a weird dystopic future. All that tells me is that the AIs are going to start to have more game than the real people, because the real people won't need to practice because you need to have bad experiences. You need to have bad sex to figure out how to have good sex. You need to be bad at dating to figure out how to be good at dating. You need to be uncomfortable. And all this stuff is trying to optimize people's way out of being uncomfortable and optimize out of failure and try to fast track past the hard parts. But honey, sweetie, that's life, babies. There's no way to perfect it because there's no such thing as perfection in all this. I mean, it's making me think about there's comedians now. I swear that I don't understand the comedy landscape I'm in. There are comedians who are, okay, there are comedians posting bad clips. I'm not saying bad oh, I don't think the joke is funny. I mean bad I'm seeing all these comics who started stand-up since 2020. And they're because so much of stand-up now, it seems to involve TikTok and going viral and getting a following. And then when you get a following, you can get headlining spots. But then we saw what happened with Matt Rife. He blows up with crowd work clips, and then we find out that the actual material is what was on that Netflix special. But everyone seems to think that that's the pathway. It's the shortcut to making it. Whatever. Fine. If you want to post how unfunny you are and how inexperienced you are, that's okay. Whatever. It doesn't have to bother me. But I am getting boosted paid Instagram stories. I am getting promoted TikToks of stand-ups bombing. And I don't get it. I mean, I understand what's happening. But I got one over the weekend where it was a dude and he starts doing a premise about how often you should text. Okay. It's long and meandering. There's not any funny line yet. It's just a bunch of premise sentences. And I'm thinking, okay, the structure of this joke could probably use a boom somewhere. But whatever, let's see where this goes. But then he continues to meander, and then he abandons the bit entirely, and he goes to try to do crowd work off the bit. And he's like, oh, so well, do you text? But then the crowd work doesn't go anywhere either. He's not getting a single laugh at any of this. He paid money for tens of thousands of people to see how bad he is. He wanted to make sure more people knows that he bombed. Why? Because I think they think, oh, I just need a lot of views. If I get a lot of views, that's impressive. I can pay for views, but you can't pay for likes. Likes come with quality. But these are people who think that you can fast track to success. They're the same people who I think that their AI version can just date a bunch of other AI versions of other people and find their match. But at the end of the day, you still got to be able to show up and perform. Yes, you could trip I remember when people wanted to seem good at stand-up. People, even if you weren't good, you wanted to at least seem like you were good. So like maybe you have one clip where you're crushing but like maybe the rest of it sucks, but you boost the one where you're crushing so people think you're funny. Now I don't get it. You can get that following all you want. You can pay for as many followers as you need to get. If you get booked off of your following and you suck, you won't get booked again because you suck. Get good. And getting good involves some failure. Getting good involves some trial and error. Getting good also involves not putting yourself out there in certain places when you're not ready for it. Imagine if you are new to sex and maybe not good at sex, and you're a dude who tries to throw himself into a sex party. Dating is hard. As the guy who's all confused about how often you should text and when you shouldn't text and when you should like write a punchline, just as he's observing, dating's hard and it's supposed to be hard and it makes you better at it. And then you trip your way into something good. You can't really optimize around it because an inherent part of it all is being bad. And your AI self knows that because your AI self is going to be bad at it and recognize the value of the hardship. So I know I'm being like an old man on a stoop about this. Woo! The Naked Comedy Show. The fella from that clip will not be on it, but me and a lot of other very funny stand-ups who put in the work will be there this Friday at Hacienda. Surprisingly, there are still tickets available. Ticket link at the top of the schnotes. Use promo code 6inches, SIX inches, for $5 off your tickets. Hope to see you there. BYOB. Before I get to this week's guest, Laura High, let's do a quick fan whore appreciation moment. I want to give a shout out to a member of the fan whore community on Patreon. Shout out to Tom Nally. Thanks for supporting the podcast, buddy. Thanks for supporting the show. Tom, I hope to see you tomorrow night at Hot Movie Night in the Champagne Room. All my Patreon folk, you are invited to Hot Movie Night. Tomorrow we are watching the 1972 classic, The Godmother. And the cover art is a woman with nice big boobies. So I think it's going to be a good movie. Come on out. Join the Patreon at any level. Then join us in the Champagne Room tomorrow night, Thursday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Join me and Tom at patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. That's Patreon, patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. Laura High is a very funny stand-up comedian. I have known her a very, very long time. Back when we used to do these really, really shitty, like Tuesday night at 11:45 p.m. shows at the comic strip on the Upper East Side. We would literally perform for like 3 people. They didn't come out for that show. They were like leftovers from the early show. And they either they wanted to get another drink. In some instances, they felt bad if they left because if they left, then there was no one left. So we basically were like holding people hostage. It was a time. That was cutting your teeth. And none of us would ever have the audacity to put up a clip from any of those late night sets on TikTok because it's bad. Even if the jokes are good, the reaction's bad, which makes the joke seem bad. So you just don't stop it. But Laura's fantastic. This is going to be a 2-parter. Next week, we're going to talk about sperm donation and we're going to talk about fertility reform that she is spearheading by talking to a lot of politicians about cum. But this episode, we're talking about love. She is once divorced. I don't think I need to tell you very much, but doing this gave me goosebumps. So yeah. Got to pay the bills with a few ads and then get ready for me and Laura High. Enjoy ad-free episodes at patreon.com/manwhorepodcast.
So, I mean, for me, my dating is like really psychotic. Like, I don't really have a traditional dating. like I never really dated. Like that's just not something I did. So for me, it's like I don't even know what I would be like on a first date. I really don't, because I never really had that. I never dated.
Really?
Not really. Not with. I know it sounds weird because I've been married twice, and I'm in my second marriage right now, but I never really dated as a normal human being, because my first, I was, in high school, college, I was one of the, I was an insecure pick-me.
Okay.
100% insecure pick-me.
Can you define pick-me?
100%. I was... I was extremely insecure. And for whatever reason, I was a massive people pleaser. And I think something in me knew that I needed to elicit the attention of men because they had a certain amount of power. So I did everything that I could to get that attention and that approval by men, because I didn't understand it because I was a kid, but I understood that there was a certain cachet from it, and I knew that approval was necessary.
Okay.
And I was so insecure that I was like, I need that approval. And I was extremely insecure with how like I looked and everything, and I was like a really like weird little kid, undiagnosed autistic. So I am now officially diagnosed as autistic and ADHD. And so for me, being a pick me was very much the I just desperately I wanted the approval of men so much that I was willing to put down any other woman that was around me. I absolutely said the bullshit of like, women are just so dramatic. Like, why? I totally said that when I was 16. I totally did. It's so cringy now looking back on it and going like, internalized sexism right there. But then what ended up then I went to college and the pick-me-ness was still there.
Okay.
But sorry, I skipped ahead. So now, we all know, no one ends up dating pick-me's. That's the thing that pick-me's don't understand. No one ends up getting they get fucked. I had a lot of fuck buddies.
Okay.
Because again, it was approval. And I was like, well, I will be available to serve. And this is my approval. I'm getting approved of in this way. And this will eventually lead to me being picked.
That's an inverse of what I would have thought about you. I would have thought you dated a lot, but not very promiscuous.
No, I would have really
I would have totally taken you, like, whenever I met you 10, 12 years ago, like, I would have read you as the person who, like, makes you wait 4 dates or something. Like,
no, not in the least bit, because that would mean that they might not stay. What if they don't stay?
What if they don't make it
What if they don't make it for I'm not interesting enough. But I know how to give a fucking blowjob.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I only learned this term pick me, like, in this TikTok generation. There's that girl, Pearl something.
Oh, God.
Who I want to have on the show. I'm fascinated.
I refuse to. So I'm on TikTok, and everyone makes content about
we
Pearl.
should probably say, we're talking with big time TikToker and comedian Laura I. But fucking, she says some wild shit.
I refuse to talk about Pearl. I will never give her attention on my platform. I refuse to, because she lives off of attention, and I refuse to do any kind of content surrounding her. I will not say her name. I won't do it because that's what she relies on, because she does rage bait. That's literally it. It's just rage bait. So I don't give it attention. But no, I 100% I was 100% a fuck buddy, everything like that. It was just I was hurt. Was what it was. I was just very hurt. I also was dealing with a lot of, and I know that this sounds weird, but I had prior PTSD and trauma from being sexually assaulted. So there was also kind of in the back of my head, like, this is all that I was worth. So that also was...
That's not weird. That's very typical.
I know it's typical, but yeah, so that was also interwoven with all of this. And so there was, I think also potentially, just realizing this, maybe my pick-me-ness was also a piece of like survival from it. I don't know. So... But then what ended up happening was I did kind of have a realization that this isn't survivable. This isn't good for me. I'm not happy. I'm depressed. And then I kind of was like, I swore off just sleeping around. And I was like, I'm only going to sleep with somebody if I have like an emotional connection.
This is college? This is after college? Okay.
And then literally that following semester, I met my first husband. And so him and I were together. I was 20 when we started dating, and then I was 25 when we got married. Yes, that was probably about right. I was about 26 when we got married.
Yeah, that sounds right. You said 2015?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 25, 26 when we got married. So I, again, totally missed dating in that period. And then him and I are together for 3 years before I asked for a divorce. No, my timeline is off. No, that can't be right. Because I was close to 30. No, I must have gotten older. I must have been older when I got married.
We do all tend to get older.
We do.
Most of us do.
No, because I remember I was 30. I had to have been... my ages are definitely wrong because I was with my ex-husband. We got together when I was 20 and our marriage ended when I was 30. It was like a 10-year thing. So somewhere my ages are off. But I do remember it was 10 years.
But the point being is like you didn't have like a period to like date multiple people. You never did apps.
I never did any of the apps. I had a high school boyfriend for 2.5 months. So like that we barely count. So I didn't date. And then what ended up happening was my ex and I asked for we separated like end of December, beginning of January from like 2017 to 2018. I asked for a divorce in July 2018. And then my second husband, we went on our first date that November. We didn't officially start dating though till like somewhere I don't even remember when, but somewhere in the next year.
What do you even mean though? Like we're dating, but we're not officially dating, but we're like definitely dating. What do you even mean by that?
I just was like, I refused to take on that label. I was like, I'm still, because at that point in time, I was December 2017. It was a hard divorce on both my ex and I. Like it was very, very hard on both of us. I was diagnosed with PTSD from things that were going down. So I was having PTSD, anxiety attacks at that point, literally almost every single day. Like I was not okay. But at that point, like I wouldn't have been able to start dating, but there was something that was 100% recognized in Dave where I was going, oh shit, I see this. I see this happening. And I found out.
Do you remember the moment where you started thinking that?
Complicated, but yeah. I mean, well, one, I found out that Dave. So Dave and I must have met. So we met during stand up. We're trying to piece it back, but like Dave and I met in like 2013, 14.
Okay.
So like this is like him and I met when I was dating my first husband. Okay. And Dave was just this like really great stand-up comic, really funny. I was always like, oh, he's hosting the mics. That's great. He's so hysterical. I come to find out this jackass has had a crush on me for years.
What do you want him to do? What do you mean, jackass? What do you want him to do? You got another man. He knows it's serious.
I have told him, I'm like, why didn't you say something like when I was like dating him or something? Like, why didn't he was like, and I'm just like,
because you're dating him. Why would you? I have plenty of crushes, quite a few in the stand-up scene. I don't. You have a boyfriend, monogamous? Then I'm not trying to fuck with somebody. You know what I mean?
No, I know, and that is the correct thing. But as I also look at it,
retrospectively, like, why couldn't you have kept me from that bad marriage?
Well, and it was like, because like my ex and I, and this is like, I really want to be clear, this is not me like shit talking on my ex.
Sure.
It's him and I just weren't right for each other. Like it was it wasn't a right marriage. Like we were a bad match.
Yeah.
And I look back on it going like, wow, we should have broken up. Like I think it was a good relationship for both of us to have for like 2-3 years, but we should have ended it. And I do think that if we did end it in the appropriate time, I do think him and I would actually be good friends to this day. I really do. I might be wrong, but I think at this point that's not on the table for either of us. I think that the trust is completely gone, but and that's sad, but it's what it is. And again, I wish my ex nothing but like happiness. I really like, and I'm rambling now. Sorry. PTSD coming in.
Yeah.
Sorry. As you kind of like see my eyes to it, probably twitching at this point, but
what helps with that?
The PTSD?
Like in the moment. Like to me, I could see it off of you, and sometimes I think, oh, like sometimes someone just needs to like kind of like talk that out. Sometimes somebody needs like someone to interject and ground them. I
don't know.
What helps you?
It's kind of mixed for me, but so yeah, I mean, there's a part of me that kind of thinks like, Dave, if you had like mentioned maybe this sooner, it could have maybe helped my ex and I maybe have like ended that relationship at actually a much more healthier point. But at the same time, that also would have not been But at the same time, there's also ethical problems in that as well. So it's like,
Those
I don't
soft blue eyes go, I'm too sensitive to interject on someone's relationship.
He is quite a cutie. But so I found out he had a crush on me. And it's like, I'm sorry, but if you find out that somebody's been harboring a crush on you for literally years, it has an impact. Like you go, oh, okay. Like it definitely takes you back. Like you don't just like shake that off. And I did not see that coming. I had absolutely no idea. I knew I always really liked him. I always liked being around him. I always... But there was just something when like it was all the precedence was gone and he just was vulnerable and he just was like, I get to finally tell you this, was like, oh, I'm paying attention and I'm listening. And even in like the PTSD, even in everything, I always tell people that I was like, there was like a chord that was hit in me that I didn't even know was there. And at some point, I have no idea when, we had like our first kiss, and it was the very first time I had ever felt fireworks in my entire life. I was like, oh, that's what they were talking about. And it wasn't fireworks, it was a bolt of lightning. And I remember him and I looked at him and I was like, I have been fucking looking for you for goddamn years. Where the hell have you been? It was just, we knew. And it was the first time where I was just like, oh shit, soulmates are a thing. Damn it. I lost that bet. But I made it very clear that it was like, I have to move slowly. I am PTSDing like crazy right now. I cannot commit. I have to have time. I'm seeing a therapist twice a week. I'm about to go get my anxiety diagnosis. And because that's when I was diagnosed with an anxiety disorder. And I was like, I need things to move slowly. So like, yes, we're dating, but we're not dating. And I need the flexibility to say we're not dating. And he's like, that's cool. I'm here. I will wait. I'm not going anywhere. And I'm like, okay.
I do tend to have a trend of running into women in certain parts of their life where there's certain care that needs to be tended to just because of the situation. Right. And, it's really sensitive to be the Dave in those scenarios because you don't know what you need, and sometimes you guys like, what do you need? And you're like, I don't even fucking know what I need. And and so all you really have is like really good intentions and a lot of lovey-dovey feelings for somebody. Yeah.
But I definitely knew I was in trouble with our first date. And the first date was
I love that you say in trouble. I said
I was in trouble.
My ex, that's the same thing. I walked away. I was like, I'm in fucking trouble.
I was in such trouble.
That's how you know.
Because Dave knew, like, it was when and I've always told people, like, you know, no matter who you are, when somebody is like, no, that's my person, there is, like, they make that choice. And Dave made that choice and made it very clear that he was like, no, that's my future wife. So I separated from I asked for a divorce, and I'm like not really 100% sure at where things are in the timeline, but at one point Dave is like, I want to take you out on a date, stuff like that. And I told
him, this is after the kiss. This is after the first quote unquote date. Or
no.
Is the fireworks date.
No, so we had our first date, I do remember, was in November. At some point we had, before that, the first kiss. I don't remember when that was. Again, PTSD brain, my timeline is a little off. So I do, where things were at that point, I'm not 100% sure. All I remember is our first date was in November because the day before that, him and I were in the New York Comedy Festival together, and that was a big deal. So that is like core memory in our head.
By the way, the names on this.
Yes.
Like, hosted by John Marco Cerezi.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah.
So silly.
Okay. Well, actually, funnily enough, John Marco Cerezi did not end up hosting that. He had to back out. But it was hosted by Troy Bond, who has now become like is a major superstar. Zarna Garg has, of course, become a massive mega, which I placed bets on. That Zarna was like, I literally, anyone was like, who's going to become a star in the next 5 years? And I was like, oh, it's Zarna Garg, hands down. But yeah, no, that list of comics right there was a good list. But so somewhere in between, I would say, me asking for a divorce and then our first date. So somewhere in there, there was a first kiss, somewhere in there, first kiss, and he told me he's had a crush on me. What he said was, I want to take you out on a first date when you're ready. And I'm like, because I'm not ready to date anybody. And he's like, that's fine. And so what he did though was during that time, he did reconnaissance so that he would be ready. And he told me, when you're ready for a first date, just let me know. And I'm like, okay, cool. And so when I told him and I nudged him saying, I'm ready for a first date, he said, okay, I'm going to take you to a restaurant. I'm going to take you to Kraft. Kraft is my favorite restaurant in New York City. Sidebar, we had our wedding reception at Kraft. Just a full range. It is my favorite. And I told him, I was like, that's really, really sweet of you. I love that. But no, because it's very expensive. And Dave was a server at a restaurant at that time. Like that was going to be his entire month's pay. And he said, no, I'm taking you there. I've been saving up for when you are ready. And I'm like, whew, okay, all right. Players fucking playing.
We love a fiscally responsible king.
We love a fiscally responsible king. And then we arrived, and he's in this cute little cardigan. He's in a bow tie. He looks adorable. So he's really trying. He has flowers, because I love flowers, which I'm like, okay. And then he loves making things. He loves making presents. And he made me a pop-up book. And he made it whale themed because I love whales. I have an obsession with whales. And he made all these whale puns throughout the entire book. It is the cutest thing. I have it over there, actually.
Puns track.
Whoa. I sort of was looking around going, oh shit, this guy, he ain't fucking playing.
Yeah.
And then months later, I'm now like, no, this is serious. And so I bring him to meet my mom. My mom falls in love with him immediately. Yeah. My mom is like obsessed with him. And he's over there having dinner, and my mom's getting ready to get her house to put on the market, her apartment to put on the market. And she's like, and my mom's like at this point, or in her 60s, early 60s, she's like, God damn it, I have to wake up really early tomorrow. I got to like get all this furniture moved out. She's like, it's going to be a lot of work. And Dave
offers the help.
Dave, the golden retriever that he is, if anyone doesn't know, he is a golden retriever, sunshine out of his butt guy, goes, oh, I'll come over. And she's like, oh my God, no, Dave, I just met you. That's a little too much. Thank you. He's like, no, I've got nothing to do tomorrow. And she's like, I would need you here at like 8 a.m. And he's like, I'm a morning person. I will be here. Now, at this time, Dave lived deep in Brooklyn. It was going to take him 2 hours on a fucking Sunday to get to my mom's apartment. And he shows up at time, skippy, happy, and he's like, what can I do? And just starts literally moving my mom's furniture. And my mom turned to me and she's like, you're gonna fucking marry him, okay? And I'm like, yes, mother, I know, I will marry him. Yes, it will. It was done at that point. It was like, no, he made his intentions known.
Fuck.
Yeah. No, he was not coming to play. He was very serious. That he was like, this is my future wife and I'm gonna do everything I can.
How did I not know this? This is wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And I think some people get worried to put like in too much effort when they're not sure about the thing, and I get that. Like, I don't think guys should be like spending like dropping $200-$300 on first date after first date. It's the first date. It's not sustainable. Where do you go from there?
I mean, if you're like a finance bro, go rock it out. But like, yeah,
that's your way of finance bros. This is your version of giving back to the community. Go spend. But when all you do is want to think about, like, how do I impress this person?
I think it's one, yes, I want to impress this person, but I think it came from Dave from such an authentic place. Mm-hmm. And I knew that. And I knew that I knew when he looked at me, and that's the best way I can explain it was the way he looked at me, that he was looking at me in a way that it was like, I am in love with you. I have never been in love with anyone else. You are it, and I'm going to do everything I can to be here, and I'm going to show up for you at any chance. And it was so clear. I had never had anything like this. Was something where I just didn't even know this was capable. I didn't know this was possible from humans. And it was a big difference between my first marriage and my second marriage. And again, this is no hate to my ex, right. But it was... I mean, I didn't love my ex-husband the way that I do love Dave, in the same way, and in the same way. I know my ex-husband never loved me in the same way that Dave has loved me. Is just
when you experience that, it puts all the other ones in a new perspective.
It does. It does change things, and it really is this. you do go, oh, I get why people think soulmates are real. Yep, okay. And it is this elixir. It is this feeling that I can never explain for the life of me. All I can say is something awokened that I didn't know was even there. There was everything inside of me. There was no logic. There was nothing. It was my body, my cells, my bones, my blood going, this is the person you're supposed to be with. You have been looking for him your entire life. Do not let him the fuck go.
During those first, whatever you want to call it, 6 months, a year, how is the PTSD mixing in with this new relationship, with this new love? Were there incidents where, yeah.
Oh, yeah. When there were plenty of times where I was in a fight with Dave physically, but emotionally, I was having a fight with my ex, 100%. Yeah. And I had to come back and go, I'm sorry, I was having a fight with my ex, not with you. I apologize. There were times and things where incidents and things were happening where, yes, I 100% got really freaked out. That I was like, oh my God, is this going to repeat or anything? And Dave was very, very scared and sensitive to that. He was, I would say, very scared that he was going to trigger me. Mm. And I also made it very clear that I was like, Dave, it's going to be impossible that you're not going to. Of course you're going to. Right. To expect that is ridiculous. But and we'll cross those bridges when we come to it. And the important thing for you to know is when I state a boundary, I just desperately need you to listen and just adhere to it.
Even if it doesn't seem like it makes sense, right? Just do it.
I would say I think I stopped having PTSD attacks from my previous marriage. I think I probably was in quarantine was when I think the last one sort of happened. Mm-hmm. I mean, I every once in a while will do a little bit of a baby one, but it doesn't. Because I remember when I was first dating Dave, it was like a celebration if I was okay for a full day. That was considered holy shit, Laura's not spiraling for a whole day. Rah rah, go me. Yeah. And that was miraculous. And then when it got to a whole week, a whole month, and then it's okay, Laura just has little baby bits here and there. Is really incredible. And it's and again, I still get triggered every once in a while, but it's extremely rare. Mm. But yeah, I think it was somewhere in quarantine was when it officially, I would say it stopped.
I mean, it's a very common issue, common problem a lot of people have coming out of, we know if they have a history of certain types of relationships in their past, what in the moment you're having the attack, what helped? Both that you are doing for yourself and or what Dave can do for you in the moment.
For me, talking it out, I think for me specifically with, and now sort of realizing that I'm autistic, I have ADHD, and it's for me, I really, I hyperfixate on things. And so for me, and I kind of spiral. So for me, talking my way through it, and getting to the other side of going, okay, why am I feeling this? Why am I feeling this? Why am I feeling this? What am I feeling? What am I feeling? I'm feeling sad. Why am I sad? What is making me sad? I'm feeling like I am inadequate. Why do I feel? And it's literally kind of literally just taking a step down each the tornado. That seemed to be the best way because I needed to articulate it. Once I could put words to it, it was oh, that's why. Okay. Mm. Because otherwise it was this cloud of confusion, and that caused me more problems, was just not understanding why. What happened, what triggered it, where did it come from, where does this inadequacy, where does this feeling coming from? Yes, this came from my marriage, but where did it come from before that? It came from my childhood because, hey, childhood problems are fun. Yeah. And of course, that, created problems within my first marriage was unresolved childhood issues. As everything was. But yeah, for me, it was talking it through and really putting a face to it.
Yeah. And that's an internal process.
It is.
For the most part.
It is. But definitely Dave was really great with actively just being there.
Yeah.
And Dave was this isn't something that I would say he was experienced in. This was kind of the first time he was really dealing with it. But the fact that he was just willing to literally sit and be there and just going, what can I do? What can I be
I've got
there?
Goosebumps. Got goosebumps.
He's quite a catch.
Don't downplay yourself, but it's like you say, he doesn't have experience like handling this.
No,
but
he
what he does have is he has empathy, and like that's really the tool that's needed. And then that you just need some direction.
He is genuinely, and that for me, like when I think about like why I was so attracted to Dave, I was like his compassion and empathy and his kindness is like off the charts. It is just, he's the sweetest human. He's just so kind. Everyone loves him. I do joke within because like we're all stand-ups, that if Dave and I ever got a divorce, everyone would blame me because everyone loves Dave. Like there's not a single person who doesn't love him once you meet him. Like he's just the best.
Yeah. And because I also think a lot of guys, I mean, I should talk men too much, but I don't know. Like people, when they don't know what to do, I think men in relationships, when they come across an empathetic issue and they don't know what to do, right? What to do, a thing I can fucking tangibly do. I think they get like self-conscious and get insecure, and then like they become unhelpful while you're sitting in a fucking internal tornado. And so I think, I hope guys listening can like hear like, what did he do? He just sat and he listened and he chilled the fuck out, and he's not worrying about what does this mean about us. Someone I love is having a freak, and let's take care of her.
He gave me the space to freak out. He knew it wasn't about him. He made sure I had water.
Always
Definitely
water.
make sure I had water. And for me, one of the big things is like if I get like a PTSD attack, especially if you throw in the flavors of like, anxiety and autism, I basically get paralyzed and I can't move. And so, he would always kind of like wait for the time of like, okay, she's ready, and literally just like help me like finger by finger, like going like, okay, we're gonna just slowly get it apart. We're gonna have some more, and like literally just moment by moment, it's like, it's okay.
Dangerous appendage to pick on this show, but that's fine. You said finger by finger. It's like, oh, what's going on in all my listeners' minds right now? I
mean, that's a different conversation. But different conversation.
Well, I would. Here's the thing. Reaching out to you, I was like, I forget how tepidly worded my thing was, but I almost wanted you to know, like, there's something about you that like I desexualize you since I've known you in a way, like I would be nervous to bring up explicit sex with you. I don't know what it is about you that makes me think that. And because like I want to be respectful of people, and I like people we totally go whole conversations while talking about butt stuff. Like, that's why when you said like, oh, I like gave a lot of blowjobs in high school, I was like, Laura said that? What?
Well, I feel like, because I do feel like that, like I became like everybody's sister. Because again, when I started doing stand-up, I was not on the market. I was very, very clearly off the market. I was never dating. And everyone knew that Laura's in a very serious relationship. So I feel like I entered the stand-up comedy sphere as Laura's unavailable.
But you also, my memory was, and I might be wrong, but I don't remember you being like particularly filthy on stage either.
No, I was never a filthy comic.
So it's, and you dress, like I said, put together and shit. So there was just something about you where it was like, oh, like I shouldn't say gangbang in front of her.
No, I felt like I was like everybody's sister, and I still feel that way, that I still kind of have that energy with like a lot of the comics. I mean, granted, I will say there was one comic who definitely, when I did say I was getting a divorce, he did sort of like leisurely mention, he was like, I did have a friend who got divorced who asked me to like have sex with her just to like, make sure everything's still working. And I'm like, okay. One of our late night friends, by the way, said that. And I just was like, dude, I know what you're doing. And I'm just going to go over there right now. I'm like, no. No.
Ah, okay.
It was not him.
That's my first guess.
No. But I'll tell you afterwards
who
it was. But yeah, no, it was. But yeah, I felt like the majority of the comics were actually always really respectful of. I will say, which I know sounds weird. They all kind of just knew that like Laura's in a relationship. She's very committed. Sure. That's fine. It was, now there were like some producers and bookers who were not necessarily that way. But yeah.
Yeah. So that's just always my, so like I said, even when you go like, fingering, that's another conversation. It's like, that's so dirty for Laura. But again, that's just like my perception of you. And it's just, I don't know what that's about. But I am glad you've got such a nice, soft-eyed sweetie.
I do.
What do you offer in the relationship?
I mean, I feel like he would probably be the better one to answer that.
Yeah,
because he's the receiving.
No, that's easier for you though.
I would say, for me, what I have in terms of our conversations, I feel like him and I have actually offered each other very similar things. Our conversations in terms of like with Dave have been very much, Dave, you know you matter in this. What do you want, Dave? I understand that party over there is saying that, but what do you want? What are your boundaries? Yes, you get to have boundaries. I specifically remember Dave even telling me, like, when I was first, like, talking about, like, you know, what I'm going through, he literally said the phrase, he was like, you know, Laura, I just want you to know that, like, I make a really good, just, like, if you need to get stuff out, I make a really good, like, punching bag. And, like, you know, you can always, like, take stuff out on me and it's going to be okay. And I went, who the fuck did that to you?
Right.
I remember just looking at him going, what the fuck? Who's done that to you? Who are they? Where can I find them? Motherfucker. And I was like, that's fucked up. And he was like, that is? And I'm like, yeah, honey, that's really fucked up. Who treats you that way? And then he started going, oh, okay. And so there were things like that kind of, for Dave, started going, oh, I matter. My voice matters. I get to have boundaries because he, unfortunately, I'll just leave it at, he had people in his life at that time who basically said, basically boundaries equaled bad relationship, bad friendships to him. So for him, he kind of at that point was trained to think that boundaries are bad. And I just was like, no. Boundaries are good. We all love a boundary. Boundaries are respect. Relationships actually are built on boundaries, especially healthy boundaries. And I'm like, you need to have boundaries with me included. No. So that was, from the beginning of our relationship, was all about him finding his voice, him realizing he mattered, and that his own autonomy counts, and giving him confidence. He was, as I mentioned before, he was a server at a restaurant, and that restaurant closed down. And he was like, well, shit, I have to get, a new job at a restaurant. I got to figure that out. And I told him, I was like, look, can I just, and at that point I was making some decent money. I no longer have that job, but at that point I was making some decent money. And I told him that, look, you hated this job. You hated being a server. You are starting at that point. He was starting to make some money from editing. He's a very good editor in terms of like editing film and everything. And I was like, what if you just go full hog into editing and you really start taping people's stand-up sets, editing them? And I was like, I know it's a risk, and I'm telling you, like, I'll be there. Like, if you need like $100, I'm there for you. But I was like, I really believe in you. And he was like, I don't know, no, that's too scary. It's too much. And I'm like, there will always be serving jobs. There's always going to be serving jobs. Always. Take a risk. Just a little bit. Because I'm like, you deserve it. You are not happy, and you can do this. And now Dave is like a full-time editor, obviously stand-up comic as well. He's working with so many amazing people with editing, and I'm so proud of him. But it was about giving him the confidence that you can do this. You can do it. And I think that's a lot of what I've given to him, is telling him that he is far more capable than he ever realized.
See, that wasn't so hard. Because like what this started with, you in high school pick me because you think that's all you have to offer. Yeah. So it's important to me to ask you, do you know what you offer now? You know what I mean?
No, totally. But I think that's what I would.
And that's an amazing thing to offer.
It's definitely about me. And I think like both him and I are each other's best cheerleaders. And that's about, giving him that praise. and that support and that confidence. Because he's again, as I've said, he's just like literally the sweetest, and he's so talented, and he just needed somebody to kind of tell him like, go find go to your highest frequency. Go get it.
That's beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
No,
he deserves it.
Yeah, I mean, like, you have me tearing up a couple times during this
Oh, yay.
Stop. I did not. That's not what I thought we were going to come back. I thought we were going to talk about cum so much more.
We can talk about cum.
Yeah. Cum's kind of like your thing now.
Cum is my thing. I am all about sperm. I am all about sperm. I have like 3 different sperm costumes now.
Wasn't that sweet? Come back next week for part 2 with Laura High, where we talk a whole lot about sperm. I had no idea there was so much to know about jizz until I started hearing Laura talk about it. The best place to discuss your thoughts on this week's show is in the episode discussion channel in the Champagne Room, our super free, super fun, super sex positive Discord server. If you showed up just to hear Laura, but you like to make some sex positive friends and you're never going to listen to the show again, consider joining us on Discord at manwhorepod.com/Discord. You can also email me your comments, your questions, your titty pictures to manwhorepod@gmail.com. I hope to see some of y'all on Friday at Hacienda for the Naked Comedy Show. I hope to see even more of you for Hot Movie Night tomorrow. Join the Patreon. And I hope to see you one day, someday, staying slutty.